Okay, people. So, one of Apple's big releases this year has now dropped. I'm talking about Ghosted. This is the new film directed by Dexter Fletcher. It is written by Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, Chris McKenna, and Erik Sommers. The film is then produced by we got Paul Wernick, Rhett Reese, Don Granger, Dana Goldberg, Aaron Fitzgerald, Chris Evans, David Ellison, Jules Daly. It is executive produced by Brian Bell, Anna de Armas. We got Donald J. Lee Jr. It is associate produced by Nick Satatarano. And Joe Anton. It is line produced by Aaron Charles, right? And Jonathan Zua. And it is co-produced by Dalia Ibahakwatit. Yeah, that's it. All right. Boom, boom. Music is Lorne Balaf. Salvatore Tortinio was on cinematography. Jim May, Josh Schaefer, and Chris Lebenson edited the piece. Mindy Marin was on casting. Claude Paris is production design. Art direction, we've got Jon Snow, Drew Monahan, May Mitchell, Ryan Grossim, and Nigel Evans. Kathy Lucas handled set decoration. Marlene Stewart was on costume design. And people, our cast. Well, we have got Cole Turner, played by Chris Evans. Sadie Rhodes is played by Anna de Armas. Cole has a sister, Mattie, played by Liz Broadway, who I thought was Charlotte Johansson at first. His dad is played by Tate Donovan, and his mum is played by Amy Sadaras. We have got Monty Jackson, played by Mustafa Shakir. We've got Levesque, played by Adrian Brody. Wagner, played by Mike Moo. There's grandson of Sam, played by Anthony Mackie. The Leopard, played by John Chu. God is played by Sebastian Stan. Jonas is played by Ryan Reynolds. Claudia Yates is played by Anna DeVere Smith. Borislav is played by Tim Blake Nelson. Taya Sikar is Patty. Steve Park plays Utami. Marco is played by Marwan Kenzari. Edna is played by Victoria Kelleher. Joan is played by Jordan. Is played by Jordan Blair Mangold Brown. Gosh. Yeah, I'd say that's our main group, right? Now, the gist of this is we are introduced to Cole, a kind individual residing with his family in a picturesque farm located outside of Washington. His life takes an unexpected turn when he encounters Sadie and embarks on a texting journey with her. But as the days pass, Cole's mind is consumed with the fear of being abandoned, and he becomes frantic in his attempts to reach her. Despite his family's warnings, Cole's desperation drives him to embark on a perilous journey to London in pursuit of his love interest. However, upon his arrival, he finds himself ensnared in a web of deceit as he's mistaken for the notorious espionage spectre, the taxman. With a chillingly menacing criminal on his tail, Cole finds himself at the mercy of his captor's twisted whims. As he's subjected to unspeakable tortures with a hint of a Cold War Dracula accent, with each turn the plot thickens and baffles as viewers are left to ponder the mysterious forces at play, driving Cole further into the abyss of uncertainty. Well, I think that's a big pile of do, right? I mean, yeah, there's so much wrong with that description, right? Because you're as a kind individual. I mean, look, there's that side, but then also he's a bit weird. He's a bit weird, a bit creepy. You know what I mean? And the whole viewers are left to ponder the mysterious. No, viewers are not left to ponder because everything is more transparent than a motherfucking window, right? That look, you know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like just the conversation at farmers market that starts off all flirty and then they have an argument, right? We know, even if you haven't seen the poster or just knew nothing about this going in, you know where this is going, right? It's very predictable. There's nothing in this that we haven't seen before in other films, which is because there was a moment when I thought they were going to do something a little bit different at the start, and then they didn't. Right? You're thinking, okay, and then straight away, door opens, and then they do the thing that you just be like, oh, okay, we're doing that. All right, we're going in that place. Yeah, and just from the title, you understand, right? Well, it's not a film about the paranormal. So, ghosted would be the term of someone thinking they've been stitched up, right? So, you know what's happening. You know, like he's a grown man. This is the thing, right? I think you can get away with certain story plots back in the day before there was internet, before everyone has mobile phones, right? There's certain things that you can be like, yes, we can use this. Now, no, right? Because you've got him sending countless messages and emojis and just all of this thing. And it's just, everyone knows that's too much because he hasn't had one single reply. Now, if you could have him, ask Siri, right? Be like, Siri, do you think sending 50 messages is too much? Or, just looking for advice. But you've got people doing things when all these other relationships have gone to shit, right? But it seems that nothing has been learned, which is, it's just this laziness, right? It's going for the cheap, plots, the cheap plot twists and devices to take a story somewhere, which, yeah, it's not fooling anyone. It's like story by numbers. That's, which I get, it's harsh because there's definitely people that are gonna like this. There's definitely people that's gonna like this. You know what I mean? So yeah, it wasn't, you know, for me. It wasn't for me, which yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, right? But there's so many things, you know, just like the whole full side, you know, mistaken identity trope, which has been done numerous numerous times, and you just think this is just not believable. It's not. It was never believable in Alias. You know what I mean? Remember that show back in the day, right? So to think that it's still being thrown out there, just kind of crazy. And then you've got someone who hasn't done all of this stuff, but then it's just like, oh, should I do? When you're in a situation with people trying to kill you, right? No one no one is going to be like, oh, but, oh, I don't want to hurt them. Just say, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? It like you could have someone try stuff, but it not work. Fine, because they're not a pro. So that's fine. But for people to be, oh, but I don't know what to do. You just like, come on now. What are we doing? What are we doing? You know what I mean? So there's that. There's a bit on the plane where you know the it depressurizes. Now, I might not be an aviation expert, but I believe if that happens, everyone is kind of dead. You know what I mean? Everyone's kind of dead, right? So what the fuck is happening with that? You know? It's a little odd, right? It tries to be fast paced. Look, I will say the mercenary bounty hunter bit that that's a mute. That was a mute. That was amusing, right? Because you're just like, oh, I didn't know homie was in it, and then you know what I mean. That yeah, I would say that sequence was amusing. But you've got like bits again. Home is you know what I mean. Cole is a farmer essentially. So being in certain situations, right, hanging from ledge, he doesn't have the muscle dexterity to do any of that shit. It's not gonna work, right? So you don't believe that. Also, there's bits where the green screen is so jarring, right? You're just like, okay, they're driving through this fair. This is clearly green screen, right? And it just throws you out because this film is just under 2 hours, but it feels like it definitely feels like it's dragging in place. There's whole sequences that you just do not really need. You do not really need, you know, it's not really adding things to a story. You know, cars blowing up when they're just tapped or flipping, when we know shit don't really work like that, right? And Diamas's character, you know, she's meant to be, right? Sadie is meant to be this super spy, but there's bits where it's just like, yo, how are you telling me that you wouldn't know that that's not a good idea? Right? It's baffling. And then the stupid arguments between them when it's just like, homie, y- come on now. Like, it's like spy stories wouldn't exist. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be a spy to know saying certain things in certain situations, hey, might get everyone murked. Right? So, yeah, it was just, just frustrating. Just frustrating, man. But yeah, listen, I get it. I get it. This was not for me. Now, I will say, if you enjoyed Red Notice, Six Underground, if they're your jam, I think you would like this. I think this will probably work for you, right? It is along those kind of lines. You know what I mean? So yeah, if I even like I'd say Deadpool 2 definitely. Deadpool 2 definitely. I did not like Deadpool 2. Didn't like it, people. But yeah, and if you enjoy those kind of things, you know what I mean? Then Ghosted could very well be the film for you, right? A film that doesn't address the real weird behavior of people. You know what I mean? Taking pictures of people sleep. It's just like, come the fuck on, man. We're not addressing that shit. Hey, anyway, it's available. It's on Apple TV. So, yes, people, Ghosted.